next up, we have a bit of an unfortunate story that went way viral. You know, you know, further loosening my faith in humanity. There was this story involving a USPS driver. I believe she's in I believe she's in California. Um, I believe I could be wrong about that. I don't know why I'm saying California. I want to say California, but I'm not exactly sure where this is located. But the reason why this went viral is because this woman she's a mail carrier for the United States Postal Service. She was doing her job. It was extremely hot outside. She had ran out of her water supply, and she made a delivery to a Starbucks. And when she walked into Starbucks, she asked for a cup of ice water to try and cool herself off. Starbucks denied her a cup of water. Basically saying, you got to pay for something if you want to get a cup of water. And so, she got on her TikTok to post a very brief video about how this happened. And it got a lot of people up in arms talking about, Starbucks and corporate greed and basic decency, and why did they have to deny her a cup of water and all of that kind of stuff. So this says USPS mail carrier says she was denied free water at Starbucks during heat wave. I am human. A TikTok video from a U.S. postal worker has gone viral after she said that a Starbucks employee denied her a free cup of ice water while she was working in extreme heat. In the video, which has since been watched over 1.8 million times on TikTok, the woman wrote, "Imagine working out of a tin can in 100-degree heat, trying to stay alive and walking into Starbucks for a cup of ice water, and they tell you no." The postal worker, who uses the handle at melanin low aesthetics, later shared a follow-up video explaining more details about the incident. It was really hot outside, and I was delivering a package to Starbucks. I had already finished the water that I pack every day in my cooler. So I'm in there, I'm delivering the package, and I'm just like, "Hey, can I have a small cup of ice water?" She tells me after I buy something first, she can give me the water, but she can't just give me the water. She continued, and I just wanted to say I'm not here complaining. I don't feel entitled to anything. I bought a bottle of water, but again, I am human. I show up every day in extreme heat in my uniform in a truck with no AC. I love my job. I love my customers, and I love my route. But that doesn't mean that I don't have bad days. The woman explains she typically brings cold water in a cooler, but she happened to run out that day. To everyone who's saying, "Well, come prepared, bring your own water. Nobody owes you anything." I come prepared every day. I always do, but some days I run out. That doesn't make me irresponsible. It makes me human. But it's not even about the free water. It's about just basic human kindness. That's all. I'm just asked to be seen like as a human being. I'm not complaining. I'm sharing. And if one video about me asking for a cup of water bothers you that much, you should really ask yourself why. Last month, a long-time mail carrier in Dallas died on his route in 90-degree temperatures. Another postal worker, 51-year-old Wednesday Johnson, died in North Carolina last June after collapsing delivering mail in a hot USPS truck with no air conditioning. Starbucks reversed its open door policy earlier this year and now requires customers to make a purchase to receive free water or use the restroom. JC Anderson, a spokesperson for the Starbucks, confirmed to the Atlanta Black Star that all customers who make a purchase while visiting our stores can enjoy complimentary water during their visit. She added that employees are trained to respond with empathy and kindness, particularly in the event the circumstance calls for it, either due to extreme weather, medical emergency, or extenuating factors. The woman behind the TikTok videos did not specify which Starbucks location denied her the ice water. So I'm gonna let you go ahead and start because I want to find out where this was. But what do you think about this situation and this USPS driver who was denied ice water in 100-degree heat?
It's unfortunate, man. I feel her on that. I would have been frustrated as well. But at the end of the day, man, policy is policy. Uh, hey, bro, if I was a barista and she walked in there, sweating and just asking for free water, I would have immediately reverted back to my training and said, "Look, man, you would have to make a purchase in order for me to give you some water. Would you like to buy a bottle of water?" And I would have did my. You know why? Because I'm not trying to get written up. I'm not. I'm trying not to get fired. And if it's a situation where people are running the cameras back because Susan over there making the matcha saw me over here handing over a cup of ice water to this public servant. Now, even though the USPS is a private institution and not a part of the United States government, they are still looked at as a milkman in the 21st century. So it's one of those situations, man, where you would like to look out for her. If I was up behind the counter, I'd be like, "Hey, look, man, I can't do that. Susan wrote me up. Susan snitched on me last week. Like, I can't give this to you right now. Would you like to make a purchase? So I get why they said no, and it's unfortunate, but rules are rules, and these companies got weird rules because they don't care about the people. You know, Especially for large chains like this where they just already know customers are going to come back. They already have a built-in algorithm of annual people who come to purchase stuff. So they're sitting in this position of we don't really care if we change these rules. We're just going to change. So yeah, it sucks, man. I remember when I was a driver, bro, and I was driving cabs and stuff. If I pulled over anywhere in that box Ford, if I pulled up in that thing, I got treated with complimentary service. If I went to a restaurant, you know what I'm saying, just to use the bathroom, I go in a restaurant like it was like, oh, just for one, and I'm like, oh no, I gotta use the bathroom, bro. And they're like, oh yeah, 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 and they'll just let me use it. When I come out, it's like, hey man, you want something to drink? I would love one, thanks. A lemonade, please. Or if I go to a hotel, everybody treat me with love, and people will offer me things because I'm out. So I'm pretty sure there's other places in context where this young lady has been out here working and in the field, and somebody say, "Hey, the mail lady's out there. Let me give her a couple, a bottle of water, or you know." So I guess she just assumed like, "Hey, man, y'all know I'm out here grinding. I come to the store all the time. I'm thirsty today. I get a cup of water." So I get her frustration, but unfortunately, the world doesn't operate on what some may feel as though is the moral thing. It's operating on bottom line. And us handing out them free ass cups ain't paying nobody. But what are your thoughts, man, on sister girl here getting denied a glass of water on a hot ass day? What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I can't find a location. I've
I'll try,
looked
I'll
at
try to pull
several
it.
articles and it doesn't really specify where this happened.
Hmm.
I mean, it's shame on Starbucks, but yeah, I'm not surprised because the paying customer, um, you know, is heavily deprioritized when it comes to whether one is spending money or not. If it were me, I would have gave her the water, but I have been known in my various stops in the past to buck a few rules here and there. But I hear where you're coming from though. As someone who worked in food service for over 10 years, um, whether it's a restaurant or a la carte or a place like Starbucks or anything like that, they definitely have policies on these types of situations, and violation of those policies do come with consequences. Now you'll have a handful of employees such as myself who will say, I don't care what the policy is. I'm just going to do what I think is the right thing to do. And I'll just accept what comes along with that, a write up, or get sent home, suspension, whatever. But I do think the vast majority of employees are conditioned to fall in line with company policy. And if management is like, yo, if you give out free water, you know, there could be consequences for that. I think most employees are going to not give out the free water because they don't have to suffer the consequences. So for me, it's more so the fact that that's even a policy to begin with.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, again, I'm not surprised. You know, these companies aren't making the same kind of money that they've always made. Um, Times are not as fruitful as they once were. Uh, the purchasing power of the individual consumer is significantly less today than I would say it was 10, 15, or even 20 years ago, especially when you adjust people's incomes for inflation. I think at the top, people have more money than ever. But I think in the middle and at the bottom, people have less money than ever.
Hmm.
And so, since the people in the middle and towards the bottom retain the majority, that's the majority of the population. The majority of the population has less discretionary income to go around, which means there's less discretionary income to go around in terms of having a budget for Starbucks every day or every week. So these companies aren't making what they once made. I don't know if you've noticed this, but I certainly have. When you
Hmm.
go into a lot of when you go into a lot of food and beverage establishments nowadays, there just seems to always be a shortage of labor. It
Hmm.
always feels like there's not enough people on the clock. It always feels like there's not enough people in there to help with service. It always seems like there's not enough waiters on staff or servers. It always seems like the plate, and I maybe I noticed these things because I worked in a restaurant for as long as I did, so I kind of can pinpoint it when I see it.
Hmm.
But I always notice, for the most part, unless it's a high volume day like a Friday night or a Saturday night or a Sunday morning, there's whole entire sections of restaurants that aren't being serviced by that aren't being used in terms of servicing customers. There's not really a ton of people on staff. There's not really a ton of people on schedule. And the reason why is because these companies have a much smaller labor allocation budget. They just don't have enough money to put people on the clock to pay people anymore.
Hmm.
And the reason why that is because there's less people walking into these places to spend money because there's less people who have the disposable income to spend on this stuff. So the point in me bringing that up is these corporations are putting the squeeze in certain areas in order to make up for the revenue that they once made. And
Agreed.
one of those squeezes could be that you aren't entitled to free water anymore unless you're buying something. So that's one of the mechanisms that they're using to make up for the revenue loss is put people in a situation in which they have to make the choice to buy something even if they didn't want to, because otherwise they won't get what they're really after, which in this case for her is water.
Hmm.
I think back in the 90s and 2000s when there was a bit more of a surplus in terms of people just having spending money and these companies just being able to operate hand over fist, there was less of this going on. We'll give you free water. Who cares? They're not really worrying about their labor shortage or their labor curve or being able to put people on the clock or things like that because, these, long-standing enterprises were just making money. But now, especially after the pandemic, when every audience is stratified, I don't care whether we're talking about, look, what's making money now compared to the way it used to. Movie theaters ain't making money. Restaurants ain't making money. You know what I'm saying? No one's buying movie tickets. We just finished talking about the music industry and the clips offering revenue sharing for content creators. You
Hmm.
think if the music industry, you think if artists in the music industry were still making money off of the actual music the way that they once were, that they would be considering things like that? Probably not. But because there's much less of a pie to eat from, because the stratification in audiences is all over the place. On top of the fact that people just don't have the money that they used to
Hmm.
when you adjust income for inflation.
Hmm.
So I'm not surprised by this, but I still feel like human decency should be top of mind. I feel like they were wrong in not giving her the water, but I can't even. I want to call this corporate greed because I feel like that's the easiest thing to do. It's low hanging fruit to just call it corporate greed, but I feel like it's a bigger problem than mere corporate greed. I think it has more to do with the current economic circumstances and the fact that it's companies also feeling the pinch, not just the everyday consumer. And so you're going to see that pinch being manifested in various ways, such as this. So, yeah, I would highly advise her and others in her position to invest in a bigger cooler that can hold more water.
Yeah, man, but yeah, I come to expect it. You say it's low hanging fruit, but I mean it's so low. I mean, it's the root of the tree.
I only say it's low hanging because it's the easy
I don't know what
thing
you
to talk
mean,
about.
but
Yeah.
it's such the platform that it's the answer to a lot of things. I mean, so yeah, you can you know what I'm saying, get a little bit further in it, but the bottom line of this is those people didn't want to get fired. That's it. And that's why I was making my point where, you know, the person that, you know, where's the human decency, you know, at least on a personal level, the reason why those people didn't do it is because, hey, look, man, it's against policy. These cameras are running 24/7. Somebody gonna say something. They might, you know, it's this weird environment at work, and so that creates it. But then it's just the overriding factor of, as you mentioned, the people at the top are not hurting. And then so these squeezes are intentional. These squeezes, because they're going on across the board, even in areas where there's no fall off in consumerism. Even with these streaming sites or whatever, they're putting a pinch on everything. Everybody is feeling it right now. And to me personally, I don't think it's coincidental. I think it's a coup being played on the people, where there's this understanding that if we keep pinching them, even though inflation is doing what it's doing, but we keep pinching them around every corner and blaming it on inflation, then the people will eventually crack and break. And so, even for the people that's out there that have jobs right now, it's hard to pay for things. And then, as we always like to talk about, as far as like how the new job market is going to be, where there's going to be a lot of automation going on. I mean, what's going to happen then? Because they're not going to stop the pension. They got even more of a reason to claim, even though they got free labor technically with their automation. But they're still going to find a way to pinch people. They're pinching us to death. Why? Because people threaten other things, and these corporations, they want to maintain their dominance. You know, it's survival of the fittest in a corporate sense to them. So they'll play any type of game in order to make sure that they stay in that position so they can keep eating good, you know. And so this whole idea of capitalism, it makes sense theoretically, but then once it starts to play out and you actually see it for what it is, and you know, because there's not supposed to be any monopolies, there are monopolies, and they just break them down into various corporations. So if all of these, if for instance, if one company is controlling these 30 companies, or these four companies are controlling 100 companies or whatever, and the same thing that you go in a grocery store, you think you're buying from these different brands, but you're actually buying from four different entities. That is, these things are working with each other. And there is no pinch. These are the people at the top, and they create the pinch. And so why are they doing that? Because people would challenge that. So the I agree with you, man. But this has nothing on the bottom base level where the person is just trying to make sure that there's food on the table next month or next week and rent get paid. I saw what they did to the last person that didn't follow policy. I'm not going to be that person today. And that's how you get the you know, the people at the bottom to actually participate in their own cannibalism. And so it's unfortunate, man. You know, I made a joke about it, but it's true. You know, there's been times where I'm working at places, Walmart or something like that, and I've got the, you know, nothing, you know, illegal, you know, but illegal on policy, yeah. I couldn't give them the hookup, and it's like I'm not trying to be that person. You know, when they want to roll back the tape and they saw me swipe my discount card for you at the time, I'm not doing that. Come on, bro. They fire people for that. I ain't gonna sit here and be that person for you. Sorry. Where's the humanity, man? So I get it. This is just water, but
Right.
I'm just saying that it's that same mentality that they put on people. So yeah, man,
Well,
it's
I
it
think
sucks.
Yeah, I think that's the crazy part about it is that the pinch is now being extended to things like water,
Yeah.
where it used to be a situation where it's like, yeah, okay, company discounts, yeah, you don't want to abuse that. Um, you know, using my employee card to scan something so that you can get something for free, or
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
claim it as waste or something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, can't really abuse that. But now we've gotten to the point where there's a such thing as abuse of water,
Yeah. Yeah.
on the grounds that if you do not spend money, you can't even get free water. That to me is insane. But I think that it's indicative of what I believe we are living in very, very dire economic straits. And I
Mhm.
believe the coup that you speak of, I believe the greatest coup is in making it seem like we're living in some sort of an economic surplus when I feel as though it's the exact opposite.
Yeah, bro.
I
We
think
are.
that's the coup. I think the coup is in convincing people that it's that everyone's out here making money and that everyone's out here got it. And so you're going to experience some form of FOMO if you're not out here getting it because the like we're convincing you that everyone else has got it. And no one has it. The only people who have it are that 20, I would say that 15 to 20-ish% who's up there, but everybody else does not have it. And it's clear that everybody does not have it because when you go into any sort of a brick and mortar or place of business, no one's working. And it's not because people are trying to do it on a budget, it's because they literally can't afford labor anymore. And when you are looking at that kind of a situation pan out, it becomes evident to me why you would squeeze in certain areas that otherwise seem unreasonable, such as free water, which is silly to me that you can't give somebody free water. They got to buy something just to get water. And it's so weird because she ended up just buying a bottle of water. It's the weirdest thing in the world. So it's like I can get a free cup of ice water if I buy a bottle of water. It's dumb. It's dumb. It's so stupid. But I kind of feel like we are. Um, it's just not. This is the opposite of a surplus, and people ain't got it like that. And what's interesting to observe is not only does the individual consumer not have it like that, but it's also these companies don't got it like that. And I feel where you're coming from. People are not inclined to violate any sort of policy, even if it means helping somebody out because if you're put out on the street without a way to earn any income, no one's going to be looking out for your better interests in terms of helping you find a new job. So it just becomes this revolving door of self opportunism, which I get because who wants to get fired? But at the end of the day, people ain't got it like that. And that's the companies and the individuals. So I wasn't surprised by this at all. And yeah, I just think, if you're in a situation like this, stop depending on the goodwill of the company to help you because those days are over. I would say just go ahead and get you one of them big boy coolers so that you can ride out for the whole day and you don't have to deal with the potential of running out of water. Because if you got to run out of water, you might have to make a pit stop back to the crib because stopping off somewhere to get help from somebody might not get you the result that you're looking for.
Yeah, hey, man. Well said, bro. And she seemed to be pretty solid because I seen the video. I seen the video where she was doing her retort, basically saying, "Hey, I always carry water and stuff like that." It's just today I ran out. Like, and that's real, man. That's real. I get it. And there's been times, bro, where I was thirsty, bro, and I was a jet, man. And I'll just go into a random whatever and just ask for a cup of ice so I can get some water. You know what I'm saying? And 98% of the time it was water. You know, just a few times they had some fizzes in it. You know what I'm saying? When I put some Sprite or something in there. And I would circumvent. But hey man, when you're a young man and you're just out here, and that's her thing, man. Look, I deliver y'all mail, man. I'm part of the community. Can I get a cup of water? So I get her gripe there, but hey man, welcome to 2025. And yeah, man, you said they're doing it on cups of water. They're gonna do it on a lot more, man. Eventually it's gonna get to the point where we're gonna have to pay for like uh napkins.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's gonna be a napkin tax.
I couldn't believe it when I saw it. So I'm down here. I was in Pembroke Pines, and there's a gas station in Pembroke Pines of all places where they give you air for free. I couldn't
Oh,
believe it. I
nice.
couldn't believe it because it's like because you can't get most places. If you stop off to a gas station to get put for air, you're gonna have to pay for that.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the only gas station that I know of where they're giving air for free. You can literally just pull up. You don't have to get no gas. You don't got to go in there and buy nothing. You don't have to do anything. You can just pull up into the gas station, and it's a Shell gas station, and you can just park next to the air machine, set your psi, and just reinflate and put air in your tire.
That's nice.
No charge. And so stuff like that, man, is very rare. And I don't know how much longer they're going to be doing that, but you know, these places of business, they look for every single opportunity to get what dollar out of you they can, and I think that that's reflective of how crazy things currently are economically, not just for the individual consumer, but even for businesses. Like people ain't spending money like that. And so you got to figure out new and creative ways to squeeze them. And even if that includes making them spend money just to get war, which is wild, but that's where we are with this stuff.
Yeah, they drinks already expensive as it is, bro. You know what I'm saying? One cup, $7, $8. I said for what? $9 for this? Yeah, man. So they got it, but they just being them people. But hey man, shouts out to her, man. Get your check, sister. You know what I'm saying? It's a grind out there, especially in this summer. So shout out to her.
Yeah, it is what it is, man. Good luck out there, but times
Hmm.
is tough, man. Times is tough on everybody.